This is the fourth segment in our series on corporate fraud and fraud prevention. This is Dave at Active Intel Investigations. This segment is going to be about controls within a company to keep fraud from happening. When you hear controls, you probably cringe. You don't want to have extra work in your company. In many cases, these controls can be automated where they're automatically in place. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to have an employee doing anything. It's part of the process built in. But let's see what they are first. Number one is authentication, making sure that it's verified who is actually making entries or who is actually taking action, who's logged into that computer, and authenticating who's doing that. The second aspect of controls is authorization. Does the person who is logged in actually have the authority and the need to take that action unilaterally? For example, you wouldn't need to have a salesperson be able to log in to the accounting software. Or if they did, it might be just to update a sales number, not necessarily to cut a check for $500,000. By the same token, you wouldn't need to have a bookkeeper have check writing authority over a certain dollar amount, maybe $5,000 or $10,000. So make sure that the authorizations that are given match what that person's needs are. The next control is the processing, making sure that the processes are separated so that the same person doesn't control all the sides of a transaction. That way they can't do something in private. Can they cut a check and also account for what that check goes to on the balance sheet? The next is security. Physical security. Who's handling checks? Who's handling mail? Who has access to corporate credit cards? Who can access inventory? We had a case where there was a trusted bookkeeper who had access to the financial statements, who also could get into the inventory room. The fact that they could access the inventory and then also change inventory numbers created a vulnerability that was utilized by that bookkeeper to steal money. Then controls of personnel. Don't forget access to this most valuable resource. Who has access to your people? Who's coming in and out of your company? Who are employees that are brought into the company? Making sure that your personnel are protected and their well-being is protected will help prevent that fraud. Remember, when you read news stories about a fraud in a company, it's always the trusted employee, nobody expected. It's not the new guy. It's usually somebody who has been given lots of authority, lots of trust. In fact, many times when we present a fraud case to a client, the first thing they say is, no, it couldn't have been that person. They never believe it's that person. Most of these controls can be automated, so don't worry that it takes a lot of time or effort. You can make it part of an automated thing that if something deviates from it, it creates a notice, not that you have to look for it every day.